Hello, ladies. Okay, so one of the things that I want to talk about today is protecting your mind. One of the things that comes into play that I've experienced in my personal journey that you may feel or experience too, and this might be helpful for you, is when we start our journey of personal growth or we're starting to reevaluate our lives and we come from a background of people pleasing and like we've talked about, being everything to everyone, we we don't realize again the power of the outside world is affecting us. And it's not just our social circle and the circle that is our tiny circle. So there's the circle of our friends and immediate family, then there's like the next our work and things like that, and then we get to society, and then we get to the whole entire world, which is like the next one outside of that. And and again, like we've talked about before in other videos, we're energetic beings. So we're taking on energy from other people. We've taken on all these kinds of energy throughout our life, completely unaware of it. And we continue to do that. And then we have the news isn't anymore about news, it's about fear. So everything in society now has so much more fear based to it that we feel so unsafe in the world that we live in. And I'm not saying there isn't horrific things going on in the world. I'm not saying that at all. But one of the things that what we can do is really start to get back to focusing more on our lane of the highway. And one of the things that I learned a long time ago, which was massively helpful for me, was dirty water in, dirty water out. And what comes into play with that is what you're putting in your mind is so important, because if you're putting in negativity, if you're putting in drama, if you're putting in um, fear-based things, or if you're taking in all this information, it's almost like you're living off McDonald's all the time, and it's just junk food. And what happens with that is, just like if you ate McDonald's every day, and there's videos out there about it, you feel like garbage. So one of the things that was super helpful for me was to really take my power back in that aspect of my life. So what I did was I stopped watching the news completely. I actually gave up a ton of television in general. And I was really more mindful about what I watched. Now, I'll be honest, I watch Hallmark movies for the most part, or the Hallmark Channel. That's my choice. That's my thing. Um, and I just find like that works great for me. Now, everybody's going to be different, but one of the things that comes into play is like you are outsourcing so much of your time and energy to all these different things and social media platforms and content that isn't actually really giving you anything in return. So if we think about like, okay, if I'm a bank account, is this depositing in me on a positive level, or is it on a negative level? Is it raising my fear, or is it helping me grow as a human being? And one of the things that comes into play with that is like, if you can give up the news, if you can give up um, social media in a lot of ways of negative things that are going on. And there's other ways to get your news. You can do something where you can go on and just get certain headlines from certain places, and you just read those, or you set your timer for 5 minutes, and that's it. But you get it from a source that's not going to hijack your nervous system, because again, that is so unhealthy for all of us. I mean, even now the Weather Channel app now has a horrific image usually right underneath the weather. I'm like, seriously? Like, no, think about how much you game. How, you're just doing this mindless game. Like, could you just eliminate that and even just try it for 30 days? And again, I know none of this sounds really new. Maybe you've heard it before, but this radically changed my life. So I stopped having conversations, or I started diminishing conversations with friends of mine that were more like Eeyore, and they were negative conversations, or people that would gossip all the time. Or I had to reframe with my mom, being like, Mom, if you're going to call and complain about everything under the sun, or tell me about all the horrific things that you're watching on the news, our conversations aren't going to happen anymore. I'm not interested in hearing that stuff. So I started to set parameters with people and places and situation. And if somebody started to gossip about somebody, I would redirect it into, okay, but you know what? That's their life. We really don't belong in it. And step away from gossiping, step away from talking about other people, being more mindful, like, well, we're all in our own lane. If we all just stay in our own lanes, we're better off here. And, think about, again, you only have so much time in this lifetime. So that 15 minutes mindlessly scrolling, you're never getting back. You times that by how many times a day, how many times a week, how many times a month, how many times a year. That's a lot of time that you could have done something else when you start to think about it. And I'm not saying that we don't all need downtime. I use the Calm app, and I listen to soundscapes, or I listen to something that is just very neutral, and I just keep myself in my own energy when I need to kind of come down from something. My Calm app was probably one of the best investments that I've ever made. I use it all the time for various different things to help me throughout the course of the day. Um, and and again, now that's worth my time, because when I listen to that music, or I'm interacting with a meditation, or I'm listening to, I'm feeding myself, I'm feeding my soul, I'm feeding what I emotionally need, and I'm not outsourcing it. I'm not being mindless. And even when I'm just listening to music that is kind of more or less like mindless, that it's still like just calming everything down. Because I used to live at like level 12 all the time. And that was never good. And I was in everybody's business. I was managing everybody's emotions. So, so that's, those are some things to help like refocus. And ask yourself, why am I doing this? Why am I just mindlessly scrolling? Am I bored? Am I hungry? Am I thirsty? Like, what am I feeling, and what needs to feel like they're not being met? And that's why I'm doing this behavior. So think about, okay, you have X amount of time. How could you be using that time? And think about, if I watch the news, what's the repercussion of it? And choose something different. If I gossip with somebody, what's gonna, what's the repercussion of it, and how am I gonna feel later? You know, instead of, I could do X instead. Like, really start to think about how you're giving your energy out and what you're receiving. So for me, like I said, so I got rid of Facebook on my phone. Um, I have I got rid of Instagram. Like, I did all that. I do have them now for business purposes, but I do not use them to mindlessly scroll. And if I do go on them, I only go to very particular ones. I have just a few, and I do it for 5 to 10 minutes, and that's it. And set a timer for it. And if you're curious to see what you really do, the other thing too is set a timer, and just scroll away. And when you're done, go back to see how many minutes you actually just spent on that app, or spent on that. Because everybody wants your attention right now. Everything wants to take a piece of you. And so it's really important that you decide on, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it at this point in the day. I'm going to spend this much time on it. These are the only ones I'm going to commit to. I'm going to give up the news. I can get it through this information. I'm going to give up listening to the radio, and I'm going to switch it out to audiobooks that I've really wanted to listen to and learn. And which are all things that I did. That was a huge change for me. Was I went from listening to the radio to listening to audiobooks. Huge game changer. And I listened to personal development ones that I was interested in hearing. But really, just really start to think about who is who's coming at you to get your attention, who's trying to steal your time, what's trying to steal your time, which is so valuable. And it's not just your time, it's your time, it's your attention, it's your brain, it's your emotions, it's all aspects of you that it's wanting. It's not just going after one, it's going after all of you. And you're too valuable to have everything in the world trying to suck your soul and take your time and your attention and put you into these spaces. And if you are struggling and if you are miserable, I have been there. And sitting watching a movie and eating a whole entire pint of Ben and Jerry's ice cream, super New York fudge chunk was my favorite. I get it. I've done that. I've done that too. I'm not here to judge anybody. I'm nobody's judging Jerry. But I've been there. But by making these switches and feeling my feelings and starting to journal more about them and get rid of all of the stuff that was hijacking my nervous system or not helpful to me, or listening like to trash music or what have you. And don't get me wrong, I love music. I love me some music. At the same time, it's like, but I could make better use of my time and help me grow more as a person. So I just want to kind of, reiterate, like, what can you do to take back your power of your time? What are one small thing that you can do? Because sometimes the reality is you can't hear your intuition. You can't hear that inner voice when everything here is going on here and everything out there is attacking in here. You can't hear the whisper of your soul. You can't hear your intuition. And when you can get quiet, all of a sudden you can start to hear your intuition. You can hear the voice within. You can hear and feel the nudges, or you can feel a gut feeling. You get to start to become more in line and more alignment with yourself by getting rid of the noise, taking over the authority of you, deciding what is coming in and what's going out, deciding what's the price that I'm paying by doing this interaction? Is it serving me or is it disempowering me? Is it empowering me, disempowering me? Really start asking yourself those questions. And if you do, and you even try this for one day, you will be shocked by how much you're like, wow, I had no idea, because we're just so used to going, going, going and doing. So I would just say, you could do audiobooks in the car. You could just sit in a quiet car. You could have conversations with your kids and have everybody shut off their technology. You could, do a great audiobook like a John Gordon book with your kids and your family and have conversations about it. You can, do an app like Calm where you can get quiet and still. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty other ones out there. You can listen to quiet music on YouTube and get centered. There's all these different things that you can do to quiet the chaos. quiet the chaos. So then you can hear what really is going on with you and feel what's really going on with you. And when you're able to do that, that's when things really start to happen and really start to change. And you start to put down the ice cream more often, or whatever your habit is that you do to try to make yourself feel better. So I hope this video was helpful for you. Again, I have been there, I have done it. You can do it too. Baby steps, baby steps, baby steps. Figure out, monitor yourself for one day and really pay attention to how much you're outsourcing. Do one small step. Again, audiobooks in the car were awesome. Awesome growth. And maybe you might want to learn a language. Maybe you want to just learn about yourself. Maybe you want to learn about starting a business. Maybe you want to learn about growing a garden or some type of plants or whatever it is. You only have so much time. So what do you really want to invest your time in? What do you really want to experience and feel for your emotions? And move past the chaos the society says is okay, because it's not. It's really not. Get quiet, get still. And that's where great change happens. So you got this. I know you've got this. Let me know what you did, how it went, what you discovered, what you've decided that you're going to empower yourself with, and disempower, like whatever is disempowering you, what you're walking away from and giving up and giving it something else a try. Whatever it is, I can't wait to hear and see. And if you like this video, hit the like, subscribe if you want to hear more of this content. And like I said, if you're looking for something in particular that you'd love to see a video on, please link it below, and I'm happy to do those videos. Have a great day.